Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ. We're coming to you live from St. Peter's Square, as you can see here. We're joining thousands of people here, awaiting our Holy Father to appear at the window of the Apostolic Palace, where we will hear his traditional Angelus message and pray the traditional Marian prayer with him today on the Solemnity of Christ the King, which is also the celebration of World Youth Day at the diocesan level. I'd like to welcome all of you joining us for this live broadcast, some of you tuning in through the Vatican Media channels, perhaps through the Vatican News web portal, our Facebook live feed or YouTube channel, or our apps, the Vatican News app or the Vatican Radio app. To those tuning in through television, welcome and thank you for joining us today. We have some of you tuning in through Catholic TV, EWTN, Salt and Light TV at Madarshan TV, Catholic Faith Network, Shalom World Television Networks, and Shalom TV in India. And to our radio listeners out there, thanks for tuning in today. Some of you through Luminous Radio and others through Radio Maria in the Philippines. And we know many more of you are joining us through other local radio stations picking up this broadcast. I'm Sister Bernadette. It's a pleasure for me to provide the English language commentary for you today. Our Holy Father celebrated the liturgy in St. Peter's Basilica along with about 2,000 young people, celebrating the 36th World Youth Day. Of course, World Youth Day was established by Pope John Paul II after he saw a huge number of young people who responded to his invitation to celebrate an International Youth Day in Rome during the Jubilee celebration in 2000. And then that gave him the idea to institute an annual celebration, which at one time took place on Palm Sunday, when it was the World Youth Day for the diocesan level, and on the international level, every 2 or 3 years, beginning with Buenos Aires in 1987, the last one being held in 2019 in Panama, and we're looking forward to the next International World Day to be held in Lisbon in Portugal in 2023. So we're seeing many of those young people who participated in that liturgy, many of whom walked from the square in front of St. John Ladder in the Mother Church, not only of the Church of Rome, but of all Christendom. So we too now await the presence of our Holy Father at the window that we're seeing up on the top of our screens on this beautiful day in Rome. Here we're now seeing from inside our Holy Father being accompanied by 2 young people, both of whom are 19 years old. Here we see Stefano Franchetti, and with him Lucrezia Marescane. Our Holy Father now greeting those below with these 2 teenagers at his side.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buongiorno.
Dear brothers and sisters, buongiorno. Good day.
Il Vangelo della liturgia di oggi,
the Gospel from today's liturgy, the last Sunday of the liturgical year, ends with an affirmation made by Jesus who says, "I am a king." He pronounces these words in front of Pilate, while the crowd shouts out that he be condemned to death. He said, "I am a king," and the crowd cries out that he be condemned to death. It's a pretty good contrast. The crucial hour has come. Previously, it seemed Jesus had not wanted the people to acclaim him as king. We recall that after the multiplication of the loaves and fish, when he withdrew by himself to pray. The fact is that the kingship of Jesus is completely different than that of the world. My kingship, he says to Pilate, is not of this world. He did not come to dominate, but to serve. He did not come amid signs of power, but with the power of signs. He was not dressed with precious insignia, but he was naked on the cross. And it was precisely through the inscription placed on the cross that Jesus came to be defined as king. His kingship is truly beyond human parameters. We could say that he is not like other kings, but he is king for others. Let's reflect on this. In front of Pilate, Christ says he is a king at the moment in which the crowd is against him. But when the crowd was following and acclaiming him, he remained distant from this acclamation. That is, Jesus is showing that he is sovereignly free from the desire of earthly fame and glory. And let us ask ourselves, do we know how to imitate him in this aspect? Do we know how to govern our tendency to be continuously sought after and approved? Or do we do everything to be esteemed by others?
In quello che facciamo, in particolare nel nostro impegno cristiano, mi domando, cosa conta?
So what I'm asking, is it applause or service that matters about what we do, particularly concerning our Christian commitment? Jesus not only fled from seeking any earthly greatness, but he also makes the hearts of those who follow him free and sovereign. Dear brothers and sisters, he frees us from being subject to evil. His kingdom is liberating. There is nothing oppressive about it. He treats every disciple as a friend, not as a subject. Even while being above all sovereigns, he draws no dividing line between himself and others. Instead, he wants to have brothers and sisters with whom to share his joy. We do not lose anything in following him. We don't lose anything, no, but we acquire dignity, because Christ does not want servility around him, but people who are free. And we can ask ourselves now, from whence does Jesus' freedom derive? We discover that by returning to the affirmation he made in front of Pilate, I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Jesus' freedom derives from the truth. It is truth that makes us free. But the truth of Jesus is not an idea, something abstract. The truth of Jesus is a reality. It is he himself who made the truth within us, that frees us from the fabrications and falsity that we have inside. Being with Jesus, we become true. The life of a Christian is not a play in which you can don the mask that suits you best. For when Jesus reigns in the heart, he frees it from hypocrisy. He frees it from subterfuge, from duplicity. The best proof that Christ is our King is detachment from what pollutes life, from what makes it ambiguous, opaque, or sad. When life is ambiguous, a little bit here, a little bit there, it's sad. It's very sad. We must always face our limitations and defects, of course. We are all sinners. But when we live under the Lordship of Jesus, we do not become corrupt. We don't become false, inclined to cover up the truth. We do not live double lives. Remember that, yes, we are all sinners, but let's never be corrupt. May the Madonna help us to seek every day the truth of Jesus, King of the universe, who liberates us from earthly slavery and teaches us to govern our vices.
Et concepit de Spiritus Sancto.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ecce ancilla Domini.
Fiat mi secundum verbum tuum.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
E verbum caro factum est.
Et habitavit in nobis.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen.
Ora pro nobis, Santa Dei Genitris.
Ut digni efficiamur promissionibus Christi.
Gratiam Tuam, quesumus Domine, mentibus nostris infunde, ut angelo annunziante Christi Filii Tui incarnationem coniovium, per passionem eius et crucem, a resurrectione gloriam perducamur. Per Christum Dominum nostrum.
Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
Pro fidelibus defuntis, requiem aeternam dona eis Domine.
Et lux perpetua luceat eis.
Requiescant in pace.
Amen.
Sit nomen Domini benedictum.
Ex hoc nunc et usque in saeculum.
Aiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.
Qui fecit caelum et terram.
Benedicat vos, omnipotens Deus, Pater, et Filius, et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen.
Amen.
The Holy Father giving us his blessing today, flanked by two 19-year-olds, Lucrezia Marsecane and Stefano Franchetti, on this Diocesan World Youth Day. Today, for the first time, on the solemnity of Christ the King, in all of the particular churches, the World Youth Day is being celebrated. And so, next to me are two young people from Rome who represent all the young people of Rome. I heartfully greet all of the boys and girls of our diocese, and I hope that all young people of the world might feel to be a living part of the Church, protagonists of her mission. Thank you for coming. And do not forget that to reign is to serve. What is that? And he's repeating it all together. To reign is to serve, as our King teaches us. And so I ask these young people to greet all of you. And he's asking them to say something. And she's wishing all of them a good World Youth Day. And he's saying, say something creative. Let's testify that believing in Jesus is beautiful. And our Holy Father says, isn't that beautiful? And stay here, he says. Today is also the World Fishery Day. I greet all fishermen, and all who are living in difficult conditions, many of whom are in forced labor. And he's greeting all the chaplains of Stella Maris who follow those fishermen and their families with pastoral service. We also remember all the victims, people who are killed on the roads, and he prays for all those who help to prevent such accidents on streets. He's hoping that people will support the United Nations to control arms. Yesterday in Katowice in Poland, John Francis was killed in 1942 in hatred of the faith within the context of the Nazi regime against the church. In the darkness of prison, he found the strength and meekness in God to live his Calvary, which he's hoping will be a seed of peace for us. And he has asked everyone for a round of applause for the new blessed who was beatified in Poland yesterday. I greet all of you, members of the faithful of Rome, and pilgrims from various countries, especially those coming from Poland and from the United States of America. I greet the scouts of the Archdiocese of Braga in Portugal, here for World Youth Day, of course. A special greeting to the Ecuadorian community in Rome, who are celebrating the Virgin of Quince. I greet the faithful of Naples and of Catania, the youth, those preparing for confirmation, and the volunteers of those who have food banks, and they're preparing for a World Day. And also he's greeting those here from the Immaculata group. And to all of you, I wish all of you a happy Sunday. And please, do not forget to pray for me. Enjoy your meal, and arrivederci. We'll see each other again. And so we now leave you with these images and conclude this live broadcast of our Holy Father and his Angelus message on this, the 36th World Youth Day, on the conclusion of the liturgical year with the solemnity of Christ the King. Of course, you can find full coverage of both today's liturgy as well as this Angelus message on the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. And we will be back on Wednesday morning for our Holy Father's weekly general audience catechesis, which is now focusing on St. Joseph. That begins just after 9 o'clock Central European Time. On behalf of Vatican Media, I'd like to thank our in-house technicians and studio technicians, and all of you for taking the time today to join us for this broadcast. Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.